Welcome in live, Blue Devil Network special presentation, 1 versus 2, the Jimmy V Classic. I'm Morgan Patrick, and I'm joined by Debbie Taylor, longtime coach William and Mary, now joining us on the broadcast. And it's Duke and UConn, number 2 hosting number 1. Doesn't happen often, so it's a special night.
It's a very special night. You know, this is an early look at a potential Final Four or national championship matchup. And while there's months of basketball to play till April, this is going to give these teams and these coaches a great measuring stick.
Debbie, how tough is it when you think about the coaches and what they're talking to the players about? You mentioned it. It's early in the season. It's only game 11 for both squads. You're at the top of the polls. You have 2/3 of your season remaining and tournament play. You don't want to get too amped up, but they're going to be over 9,000 fans in here telling them different.
You know, your kids just have to be mentally tough in an environment like this. And you have to understand the significance of the game, but every game is a game, and you have to treat it as just that. So you come prepared to play, you come mentally focused, you have to be mentally tough, and you get out and you get your job done.
Okay, now I've seen you around. You watch Duke press conferences, you've watched UConn press conferences, shoot-arounds. What's been kind of your gut feeling on how they come into this matchup? Obviously, it's 2 of the best teams in the country. They end up recruiting the same kids.
Sure.
So,
you know, it's turned into an intense rivalry, but I think for Duke this year, they have 5 seniors, and it's rare that a coach, you know, has 5 seniors and a team has 5 seniors. So these are 5 kids who have a lot of experience. They've been through the battles, and I think they're ready to play tonight.
It's going to be just very interesting to watch as Duke has had its issues with UConn the last 6 matchups. The average distance between these 2 clubs has been around 29 points. So it's a big concern for Duke. They want to hang in there with UConn. They'd love to knock off the number 1 team in the country. Well, we have the voice of the women's basketball here at Duke. My partner on the air, Steve Barnes, joins us. Steve, welcome to the broadcast. It's the first time we've ever done anything like this, webcast on GoDuke.com and Blue Devil Network, so we're excited about it. But 1 versus 2, just your initial thoughts as this game is about an hour and a half away.
Well, my initial thought is we're here way too early.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think it's going to be great tonight. Sold out Cameron Indoor Stadium, standing room only, terrific atmosphere, and it would be a terrific way for the seniors to go out with I don't know, do you think you can be the underdog on your home floor?
Well, if history tells us anything, absolutely. Talking with some of the seniors yesterday and leading into this game today, especially here in Durham, I mean, it's a big game, but they understand it's 1 game and it's early in the season.
It is early in the season, and usually the Jimmy V is actually later on in the year. Usually we're used to playing UConn whenever it is, Jimmy V or not, in January, kind of a break from conference play. This is a really strong opponent before conference play even starts. So I think there's time for both sides to regroup a little bit, but I think you'll see emotion at the beginning of this game, without question.
Well, Steve, if you look at Elite 8 last year, the year before, you know, you have these 5 seniors and this team with all this experience, and you've gotten to watch them play a bunch this year. What's it going to take for this group to get to the Final Four?
It is going to take a supreme effort. First of all, it's going to take good health. I think this team would have been in the Final Four last year if we'd have had Chelsea Gray, one of the great players in the country. That would be like UConn going the rest of the year without Mosqueda Lewis. I mean, she's terrific. And even if you are a great team, you need all your parts to be great. So that's the first thing. Everybody has to stay healthy the rest of the way. They have to commit to the defensive side of the ball, and they have to take care of the ball. And Chelsea does a great job with that. The offense runs better when she's on the floor. That lets Alexis Jones and Tricia Liston do what they do without having to worry about what Chelsea does. So I think she's the key to the whole thing.
Agreed.
Well, we've done so many games together, and the coaching staff and the players often talk about it, but we rarely get to see it, the full 40. And they're talking about that game, you know, that particular aspect of the game tonight, having a Blue Devil team that can play first and second halves. They played incredible at Oklahoma. Second half, they kind of got through it, but they gave up 58 points. That's a concern.
Well, this is the best 5 that Duke's put out on the floor since 2007. So they have a chance, if everything goes well, to play very well, and we could see huge minutes from the starting 5 without a whole lot of subbing going on for either side tonight. Now, both teams are deep, and the Blue Devils have experienced depth, partially because of Haley Peters' injury early in the season. But if fouls are not an issue, we're going to see the starters play a full 40, I think.
All right, Steve Barnes is the voice of Duke women's basketball. We're going to take a short break here from Cameron Indoor. It's been fantastic already. 1 versus 2, Jimmy V Classic. It's always special, but it's going to be nice to have 9,000 plus in here.
9,000 plus watching probably 13 of the best women's basketball players in the country. So it's going to be fantastic. We both have our parking spots reserved all night, so we're going to stick around.
It's a great evening.
Steve, thanks so much.
All right, we'll see you upstairs.
We are going to be back to Cameron right after this.
My father died of cancer in 1997. My mother-in-law died of cancer. Without too much exaggeration, other than winning games and enjoying what we do in the world of basketball, the only other thing that we know for sure is going to happen is somebody we know is going to have to fight the battle against cancer.
Welcome back, Blue Devil Network. We are live from Cameron Indoor Stadium. It's the special presentation, 1 versus 2 Jimmy V Classic. Debbie Taylor joining me. I'm Morgan Patrick, and it's a real treat. Bob Joyce is the voice of UConn women's basketball, and he joins us on set. And Bob, just 1 versus 2. We don't get a lot of it. I think 52 times it's been able to happen in women's college basketball, and we've got one tonight.
For UConn, it's the 18th time 1 versus 2, and they've won the last 10. It's, should be a great atmosphere. I love doing games at this place, and let's hope the game lives up to the billing.
Bob, at this stage of the game, how do you feel that this year's UConn squad stacks up against last year's national championship team?
Probably as good, maybe even a little better. They don't have Kelly Ferris, who did everything for them last year. Rebounding, defense, could score, hit a 3 for you.
She was first-team All-American against us up at your place.
Yeah, particularly second half.
Yeah,
second half. But they're as talented a group as I've seen in my time here, and there have been some really good teams. They're anybody's equal, and their goal is to run the table this year.
Bob Joyce joins us again, voice of UConn women basketball. Big question, injury situation, Mosqueda Lewis, Tuck, what's going on there?
They're good to go tonight. Kalina will come off the bench. She won't start earlier today at practice. Gino went with the 5 that he's gone with for the better part of the last 6 games as starting rotation with the 3 guards, Banks, Hartley, and Jefferson with Stewart and Dolson up front. But they'll play. I think Tuck will play her minutes, averages about 16 points a game. Mosqueda Lewis, I'll be interested to see how many minutes she plays. She shot the ball pretty well at practice today. Some of it may be conditioning. Some of it may be she's not quite totally there yet. You'll see an arm brace, an elbow brace on her tonight, but it didn't look like it affected her shooting too much.
Have you been able to watch the progress and how she's been working with it? I saw the injury happen. I was scared for her. I thought she broke something when I first saw the video. When they said it was nerve damage, then you start going, okay, you have no way to determine when that's going to be good.
Right. And I think the biggest thing was the swelling around it and the nerve itself. There was a point where really she wasn't able to get that arm totally extended when she shoots the ball. I'm not sure she's quite there yet.
Right.
It's just a matter of how much pain she can play through, or discomfort, I should say. But we'll find out tonight. We'll get some answers.
Okay.
Bob, I have an announcer question. It just is you have 1 Brianna, 2 Briannas, and a Bria. Like, how does that work for you on the call?
Well, let's see. Brianna Stewart, most of the time we were mentioned to as either Stewie or Stewart. Bria's the senior member, Hartley, so we just go with them.
Now, you call her Stewie on air?
Yeah,
Okay.
Sometimes.
All right.
Sometimes, not all the time.
Okay.
But sometimes. You got to mix it up, being the hometown team. Let's see. Banks. It's Brianna. No real nickname for her. Yeah, that's about it. But yeah, you just kind of get used to it. And the walk-on, they have a nickname for her, Polly, but she hates being called that. We never call her that on the air, and just stick to that. But yeah, it gets a little confusing at times.
All right, Gino's got 8 national titles.
Mm-hmm.
The pipeline, the players, really amazing stuff. I've been working with Duke for the last 6.5 years. Maya Moore is by far the best player I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts being around it on a daily basis during the basketball season, if you had to pick 1, 2, maybe 3 players to put up there at the top of, I guess, the Mount Rushmore of UConn women's basketball, I mean, Maya's got to be there.
Well, yeah, I would even say she's 2 to Diana Taurasi.
Wow.
Far, and that's just for a lot of the
Debbie mentioned that
a lot of the
yeah.
intangibles.
I'm a fan.
Not that Maya didn't compete; she played hard. She was a great scorer, but Diana a little more of a complete game. And one thing we never saw with Maya, rarely, close games. there was never really a time to see if she had that moxie to hit the big shot, because she always threw the knockout punch with her teammates early. Diana had that chance and rarely ever missed in that opportunity.
Okay, that's 2. Do you have a third?
Oh, wow.
I mean, I know it's tough to kind of rank them because, I mean, there have been a lot of good players.
You can put Rebecca Lobo up there. You can put Tina Charles up there.
How about Sue Bird?
Yeah, Sue's up there, one of the guards. You know, I mean, Bird Tarazi backcourt, you always start with that, yeah.
Well, Maya Moore, Tina Charles.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a good starting 5 to go with.
Well, listen, it's always a pleasure. Certainly, we want this game to be tight. It's a fantastic stage for women's basketball, 1 versus 2, and Duke needs to step it up. They know it, and we'll see if it can happen tonight.
Let's hope they show up with some pride tonight. That's the biggest thing. You got to think they're sick and tired of getting knocked around here. It's up to them. Find to see how much heart they have and compete with Connecticut. All
right, there's Bob Joyce. He is the voice of UConn women's basketball. We are back to Cameron right after this.
Cancer is a dreaded disease. I tell people all the time, it affects everyone. I don't care if you're rich, you're poor, you're black, you're white, you're Christian, you're Jewish. It doesn't matter. It'll bring you to your knees. And the only way we will ever beat that disease is by getting dollars in the hands of the right people. And that is what Jim Valvano is about.
Welcome back to Cameron Indoor Stadium. Blue Devil Network special presentation, 1 versus 2. It's the Jimmy V Classic. It's UConn. It's Duke. Really, when you talk about women's basketball, that is elite status. But joining us on our stage, which is a pretty nice stage, Cameron Indoor, is Doris Burke, ESPN analyst.
Doris, for Duke to be successful tonight, you know, in watching the Ohio State game and how Kevin McGuff changed defenses a lot, you know, and Duke is a multiple defensive team. You know, we're going to see some man, we're going to see matchup, which works really well for them, and then, you know, some half and full court pressing. How do you think they're going to fare with that attack versus UConn?
I think it's a great point. You know, I know that Connecticut ended up beating Ohio State pretty handily, but Kevin McGuff game plan similar to Joanne, and that he tries to keep his opponents off balance, makes you think every possession up the floor. So I think that the more they can do that, the better. And it's interesting because I was talking to Joanne and we were talking about Hartley playing like one of the best guards in the country. Liston has played like that for Duke, Hartley for UConn. If she's off the floor, does Mariah Jefferson recognize those defenses you're talking about, and does she make good decisions against those defenses? So your point is perfect. I think it's been a huge advantage for Joanne her entire career, her ability to, one, institute a system. You have to have smart enough players who can adjust on the fly. Know, okay, make, we're doing this, miss, we're doing that, first pass this. Very similar to what Gail Gessencourt used to do here so successfully at Duke.
Well, and you bring up a great point. I think Tricia Liston has grown leaps and bounds, and a lot of that has to do with playing on Team USA.
Yes.
Leadership has really grown, being around practice, being in film, being a leader, being a talker. When she talks, the team listens. I mean, the senior class for Duke is really a special, special class, and the underclassmen know it, and they really want to play well. But I agree with you. I think Trish is kind of that link that maybe has been missing for Duke, but it's also might be a key for UConn to maybe try to take her out of the game.
I think that's crucial. I think one of the UConn's thoughts tonight is let's not give up threes. And the first person you think of where Duke is concerned is Tricia Liston. But one, I admire how she's grown. You know, she has completely revamped her physical appearance. She has become a well-conditioned athlete. She's diversified her game. When she was a freshman, she was a catch-and-shoot player off screens. She needed people around her. Now she has made that jump to, I'm going to help my teammates be better, whether I'm rebounding the basketball to get us an extra possession or whether I'm using the dribble. To see kids grow that much like Tricia Liston has, and just to hear her reaction, guys, to wearing USA across her chest and recognizing maybe for the first time, you know what, I'm pretty good. Like Tricia Liston she's comporting herself and her numbers. She's a first-team All-American. If I'm voting right now, Tricia Liston is a first-team All-American. No question about it.
Wow. Oh, and I agree. Talk a little bit about how you think transition is going to factor into tonight's game on both sides of the ball. So obviously, you know, last year in the first half, Duke got some easy buckets off, offense off their defense, but, you know, also getting back on defense tonight because both these teams are so quick up and down the floor.
Yeah, you know, I think obviously when I look at Duke's paint points and their ability to run, and that's something that's been crucial to them. You look at field goal percentage of these two teams. You get a quality field goal percentage. You're shooting above 50% because you're getting quality shots. There's a direct correlation to the kinds of shots you're taking and your field goal percentage. So I think it's crucial. Can you run? Can you run with intelligence? And can you transition back out of your transition? You know, your offense has got to help your defense. So quality shots in transition means good floor balance defensively, because both of these teams will take advantage of you if you've got bad defensive floor balance. So transition, I think, probably is 1 or 2 on both team scouting reports.
Doris Burke's joining us, ESPN analyst. Again, getting ready for 1 versus 2, Duke and UConn. Duke being the 2 team and hosting number 1 UConn. And 52nd time it's happened, a 1 versus 2 in the regular season. So pretty special. Coaches, and you were for both press conferences, Doris, coaches are downplaying it. It's game 11 for both teams.
Yes. I disagree wholeheartedly.
They got a long way to go. But from a mental standpoint, this is an opportunity for Duke.
It is. You know, you look over the history of the senior class, and they are extraordinarily talented women. But you want a signature win. For those women's sake, when they put their head on the pillow tonight, or when they're brushing their teeth and they're looking at themselves for the last time, whether they win or lose tonight, you want to know that you gave your opponent all they could handle. And I don't just mean for 20 like they did last year. I mean for 40 minutes. And selfishly, from our broadcast perspective, we want it to be a last-second shot. And if it goes to overtime, all the better. I could care less who wins. But I would like to see Tricia Liston take more than 1 shot. She took 1 shot in 24 minutes. Mm-hmm. If I'm her, I come in here tonight and I'm getting 10 shots. I don't care if they're bad shots. I don't care if coach yanks me from the game and I got to go sit down for 5 minutes. I'm getting some shots tonight.
Yeah, you don't want people at halftime looking for Modern Family reruns.
No, please.
You want them to the better
We're up
end.
against Pittsburgh Cincinnati men, and Dave O'Brien and I fully and firmly believe this. We got a chance to outrate that men's game.
That's
but this
fantastic.
game has got to be competitive. It's got to be competitive.
What's the biggest matchup of the night as far as you're concerned?
Oh, boy, that's a great question. I mean, Connecticut's got the best front court in the country. At the 4-5 spot, you're not going to beat them. But I do think Elizabeth Williams has got to show out better than she has. So if she's checking Dolson or Stewart, Elizabeth Williams has, 1, got to stay out of foul trouble, and 2, play like we know she can play.
Well, I mean, I think that's a great point, Doris, because at Oklahoma, she played 10 minutes.
Correct.
She played 10 minutes.
Whether you agree with the calls or not. And it's sketchy, I get it. But that can't happen. You're right.
I mean, it's the way it's called.
That's right.
She's got to play the game. Did not play smart basketball in the second half, got 2 quick fouls, and then when she came back into the game, the 5th foul, we were just like, really?
Right.
And, I mean, she is such a dynamic player,
yes.
and Duke is such a different team when she is in the game and being active. And with the active post front court that UConn has, she's got to be in there, and she's got to be a major player tonight.
No question. Haley Peters.
Yeah.
I said Brianna Stewart is probably the best player in the country. She hasn't showed out like the best player in the country yet, So can Haley Peters and all that toughness and energy, because she is Duke's toughness, can she go head-to-head and compete with Brianna Stewart for 40 minutes? I can't wait to watch that matchup. How about Chelsea Gray? I mean, there's matchups all over the floor. I can't wait for this game.
It's 1 versus 2. I think there is a lot of pressure on Duke, both coach and player,
no question.
Basically saying, it's just another game, but it's not. It's a watermark. It's a litmus test. They've had it for the last 6 years, and they haven't been able to match up.
I'm going to be honest with you. You know what I wish I heard yesterday? And it's hard because you're putting yourself out there as a player, but this is what I wish I would have heard from somebody from Duke. It's a huge game. They've beaten us, and they've beaten us badly, and as competitors, we don't like it. And tonight it's going to be different, or tomorrow night it's going to be different. Now, I didn't hear that. It doesn't mean it won't translate between the lines,
right.
But there's something to me very appealing about the honesty to know, listen, that's the standard, and we want to get there. And if we're going to get there, let's go compete. Let's see how we are.
Doris Burke,
so
ESPN, one of the best. And we didn't get a chance to talk about everything that you've done in broadcasting, but
I've been very lucky. Honest to God, so lucky. I feel so lucky to be here tonight.
I mean, so many. And look, I didn't give you a Popovich answer. I
Thank God.
I wanted to get to that. I'm like,
you two are a heck of a lot easier than
there are only a few people that can handle that the way you do with class. And everybody that works with you loves you, and we thank you for coming by.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, well, it's 1 versus 2. It's a short while away. Jimmy V Classic. It's Duke and UConn. We're back right after this.
Well, first of all, he's a paisan, and I respect that immensely. I love the way, the enthusiasm, the energy, the courage, the way he handled his situation till the very end. You can't get past that. You can't get past his strength. And so that's something you think about when you think about Jimmy V.
Welcome back to Cameron Indoor Blue Devil Network special presentation 1 versus 2. That's UConn and Duke from Cameron Indoor. Jimmy V Classic. I'm Morgan Patrick. Debbie Taylor joins me. 14 seasons at William and Mary, and now in broadcasting. And it's going to be interesting to follow your career now that we've kind of made contact. And we certainly appreciate you being here with us at Cameron. And it's exciting to have 1 versus 2, but it's even more exciting, Debbie.
How much more?
It's pretty exciting. Al Brown joining us, assistant coach at Duke, and I know Coach quite well. Coach, 1 versus 2, 52 times they've had this matchup in women's regular season basketball. They're all big. I know that coaching staffs will tell their players it's just another game, but they're going to be over 9,000 people in here that think a little differently and want to see Duke win this one.
Absolutely, and it's just not another game. It's a big game. As you suggest, it's 1 versus 2. It's 2 of the better teams in the country going against each other tonight, and it's certainly exciting for all the fans, the coaches, the players, and everything. And so it is not just another game, but it's another opportunity for us to showcase women's basketball nationally. And we're excited about it. We're excited that it has great coverage, and it's going to be a wonderful game. It's going to be an exciting atmosphere and a great game.
Okay.
Al, can you talk a little bit about your freshmen and what they've contributed to date and how they're acclimating, to college basketball and what you need from them tonight in this game?
Well, the 2 freshmen that are going to make a significant difference tonight are Kendall Cooper and Odera Cheatham, because both of them are post players, and we're a little thin in the post. Elizabeth Williams at Oklahoma, our last outing, got in foul trouble. So if that happens tonight, which it might against a very good Connecticut team, well, both of those young ladies are going to have to come in and play. Rebecca Greenwell, our other freshman, is injured. She's come back to practice, but she won't be able to play in tonight's ball game. But she is making great progress in her rehabilitation and may well, in fact, be ready to play before the season's over. But our 2 post players that I mentioned earlier can play a significant role in this game because we're going to need their strength and depth. And they're coming along. They're still freshmen, though, even though they've got 1 semester. They haven't become sophomores yet.
We've been talking, Coach, about maybe the transformation of some of the Duke players from last year to this year. Tricia Liston playing on Team USA, getting more basketball, developing her leadership skills. That senior class as a whole leading this team this year. With Trish kind of changing her game from a spot-up shooter to dribble drive to backing guards down, I mean, she really has added another level.
Well, she certainly has. Patricia Liston from Illinois has grown as a player since she's come here. She was, as you suggest, a stand-up three-point shooter when she first arrived on campus, and now she's developed her whole game. One of the things I'm most proud of out of Patricia is the fact that she's playing defense, and she's really working at becoming a better defender. That's difficult sometimes when you're categorized early on as someone who really just shoots the ball and doesn't play defense or do anything else with it. And as you suggest, Morgan, she has played great off the bounce this year. She can make assists, she can create for her teammates, and in addition to making those electrifying and exciting three-point shots.
Al, you do most of the scouting for this team, and this is a really big week for you guys. Not only this game tonight, but then you play Albany at home on Thursday, and then you have to go to Lexington and play number 5 Kentucky. So in your preparation, is the focus more on you guys doing what you do well, or how much do you concentrate on the other teams?
We look at all the teams that we play in a given span, whether it be 2 or 3 games. We analyze what they do, and because we had extra preparation time over the holidays, we prepare for all 3 teams. So we don't really just focus on one. So if one of the teams plays a zone and the other two play man, we still are working on our zone offense. By the same token, defensively, we try to cover every possible situation that we will see this coming week, which begins tonight.
One of the things that was picked out from video last year, matchup up at Storrs, Connecticut. First half, very disruptive, a lot of turnovers. Lex kind of came onto the national stage in that ball game. Second half, different story. Hearing the players talk, obviously being able to be at practice, I think a real focus, and I'm going to let you re-emphasize, is to really be up in their business, so to speak, and be as physical as you can be without fouling.
Well, absolutely. Basketball is still a physical game, and even though they've changed the rules with the hand checks and all of that, we haven't really experienced much difficulty with that in terms of how we play defense. But it is going to be a physical game. It is a physical game. That was decided a year ago. Really, there's just three factors, actually four if you want to include personnel. We have to stop their transition game. They scored 20 points on us in transition. 12 of those points were layups. We have to out-rebound them. They decisively defeated us on the boards last year. And then we have to be the aggressor in the game. And last year, the game you're referring to was decided by one player on either team stepping up, and Kelly Ferris stepped up and was a difference maker in the game. She's not here this year. That doesn't mean that someone else on their team won't step up, but we're hoping that we'll have that player step up this year. But it is a physical game. It's going to be that way. Stephanie Dolson has been in foul trouble in both of the games that we've played, the last two games. Hopefully that would happen tonight, and our ladies stay away from those fouls.
It seems like Alexis Jones is really starting to hit her stride. Can you speak a little bit to her play and how important it is for her to have a great game tonight?
Well, Alexis Jones, as Morgan alluded to earlier, had a great game, a breakout game against Connecticut last year in Storrs. She came back and played a role. She had to find out how to play alongside Chelsea Gray, who's one of the best guards in the country. And that was a difficult challenge for her. Chelsea went down and Alexis stepped up and was absolutely the difference down the stretch for us, and of course the most valuable player in the ACC tournament. This year, she and Chelsea are much more comfortable together. They're splitting time at the point. They're doing a nice job of controlling the tempo of the game. One of them, Chelsea's not quite as quick up the floor. The tempo changes with her with the ball, which isn't bad. Alexis pushes the ball just a little more quickly, which will be interesting to see if she can do that tonight. And so they complement each other much better than they did a year ago at this time.
Coach, the new rules, I mean, we end up talking about it at practice. We talk about it on the plane. We talk about it when we're on the road. It really, I think, it just falls right into the hands of teams that have dynamic point guards that can penetrate, because there's very little that the defense can do to stop them. So if you can get to foul line or below, it's going to really elevate the scores. Now, we've seen a lot of foul shots early on, but do you think with these new rules, players like Lex are going to be able to really literally take over a game like Odyssey Sims was able to score 40-plus points? It was 4 overtimes, but, I mean, she was scoring at will because she could penetrate.
It's going to be an interesting dynamic as it plays out this year and as we move forward. The problem is stoppage of play. There's a fine line between allowing the teams to compete and play and then stopping the play and shooting free throws. No one coming in here tonight, of the 9,000 that'll be here, want to see a free throw shooting contest. They want to see an up and down game that's a flowing game that has a rhythm to it, and they want to see two teams really go at each other with their best players on the floor, not on the bench. So how will that play out as the season goes on? We have been okay. I mean, we've had a little bit of a problem in some games, but basically ours have been handled and officiated pretty much the way they were a year ago. But as you suggest, if you just want to spread it out, put 5 people around the perimeter, give one of them the ball, let them drive to the basket, I mean, it's if she's quick enough, it's almost impossible to stop, and you put your hand on them, and that's a foul. So we don't do that. I don't. There aren't any teams that we play that do subscribe to that, but I mean, it's possible.
Al Brown, assistant coach at Duke, and certainly getting ready. We appreciate your time pregame as number 1 versus number 2. Maybe just a little bit on the fact that we do have a 1-2 matchup this early in the season and what it does for overall women's college basketball.
Oh, it's exciting. I've been in several of these 1-2 matchups, and they're fun, they're exciting, and we're looking forward to it, and I know Connecticut is as well.
All right, Al, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Coach Al Brown joining us, Duke Blue Devils, Duke UConn, number 1 versus number 2, Jimmy V Classic. You're listening to and watching the Blue Devil Network. We're back right after this.
He faced death, looked it straight in the eye and said, I'm going to live beyond, and I'm going to do something beyond my death. I think he became remarkable once he had cancer. He was always outstanding, but he became remarkable in facing that dreadful disease.
Welcome back to Cameron Indoor Stadium, Blue Devil Network special presentation, 1 versus 2, Jimmy V Classic. UConn, number 1 in the country, in town to take on the home standing Duke Blue Devils at number 2. Real treat. I mean, we have just an absolutely fantastic guest list, but Doug is joining us, and Doug Feinberg, Associated Press lead reporter for women's college basketball. You get to see a lot of basketball. I'm assuming it's in your dreams, but it's pretty cool to get a 1-2.
It is really cool. It doesn't happen that often, or as often as you'd like, but there's something special when the top 2 teams in the country are playing against each other, and especially in a place like this. I mean, Cameron's one of the meccas of basketball, and to have a 1-2 matchup here is just a special
well, and they're going to have a sold-out crowd. It's going to be hot. It's going to be loud. Blue Devils have not fared well in this matchup. The last 6 times has been very, very tough. I mean, you've been able to see UConn play. You've seen Duke play. What you thinking?
I think it'll be closer than it's been the last couple of years. I mean, a 29-point average margin of victory for UConn is not good for the game and not good for the Blue Devils. I think there's something about this year. I mean, the senior class led by Chelsea Gray is kind of like, look, we have to do this year. If we don't do it now, we're going to go down as the class that never beat UConn. I mean, they could play again down the road, but there's something about you have to win tonight, or at least be competitive tonight on your home court against the favorite to win the national championship.
Right. It's important. You know, can we talk a little bit about Coach McCauley? You know, just got her 500th win at Oklahoma. A pretty big deal, you know, and you got your iconic coaches, Gino, Pat Summitt, Tara, but, you know, Joanne is kind of the next wave of coaches coming through and has accomplished so much in her career already, you know, has been Coach of the Year in 4 different conferences, took Michigan State from the cellar of the Big Ten to the national championship game, and here at Duke, you know, what she's accomplished alone. Do you have to win the national championship to be considered great, in your opinion?
I don't think so. I think I mean, the 500 wins is a number that few people have reached and few people down the road are probably going to reach. Winning a national championship obviously is icing on the cake, but what she's done at Maine, at Michigan State, and at Duke is impressive. I mean, taking 3 teams to the NCAA tournament, it means you're a good coach. You're not just having one program and building it up. I think icing on the cake if she wins a national championship, getting to the Final Four, this team would be a huge step for this program. She's one of the next tier. I mean, there's the legends of the game where you have the Pat Summits, the Sylvia Hatchells, the Gino Oriemas, the ones that have been in the game for 30-plus years. And then the next tier are the up-and-comers in a sense. They're not the legends yet, but not the newbies. Coach McCauley's in that class and probably one of the leaders of that class that is sort of take the torch 5 years from now when I think the rest of the legends have sort of stepped aside and gone on to greener pastures. Doug
Feinberg joining us, Associated Press. Doug, these 2 programs, they recruit the same kids. They all know each other. Sitting in on film, it's I don't want to say it's hilarious, but, I mean, the coaches know the other players. They know them very, very well. And the players know each other from AAU, USA Basketball. There's a lot of familiarity in this matchup. I think it's going to lend to a pretty good mix.
I think it helps. I mean, obviously, 20 years ago, there wasn't as much AAU basketball. There wasn't as much USA basketball. So these players, if they were playing, wouldn't know. They maybe saw them once on the road, maybe twice. But, I mean, they've played summers together. They've played on teams together. They know each other inside and out that It's really about who's going to step up and be the better player tonight or the better team tonight. And, yeah, they're friends off the court, a lot of them, but once they step between those lines, it's you're wearing a Duke jersey, you're wearing a UConn jersey, and that's kind of who you're going to be going for tonight.
Yeah.
You know, Doug, this is a big week for Duke. I mean, let alone Connecticut tonight, but then they play Albany on Thursday, and then they travel to number 5 undefeated Kentucky in Lexington. And, you know, can you speak a little bit about what it means for them with the rankings and just for the national rankings in general in women's basketball?
Sure. This is actually a sort of a dangerous week for them. I mean, you can't put so much on this game tonight because if you do lose it, then you got a game on Thursday, which could be a trap game. Albany's pretty good. The former assistant coach of Coach McCauley is leading them. They have a really good center who's like 6'8" and talented. And then you have that game on Sunday at Rupp Arena. Kentucky, I saw the other day against DePaul. They're really, really good. I've seen them 3 times. They're missing one of their better players, and Deisha Stallworth is out for a few weeks with an injury. But they're up-tempo. They're talented. They probably had the game of the year so far in women's basketball when they beat Baylor in 4 overtimes. I mean, this is a week where, as important as this game is tonight for Duke, they got another big one on Sunday and then a potential trap game on Thursday. That, in the scheme of things, yes, beating UConn tonight would be huge, huge, huge for this program. But you got a big game on Sunday and then ACC play where there's no easy nights there. I mean, you have obviously Maryland and North Carolina who are coming back for obviously the battle of the ACC, but throwing Notre Dame now, who is one of the top 5 teams in the country, to add to that mix. There's no like, hey, we can take tonight off and we're playing an easy team in conference.
Mm-hmm.
Doug Feinberg joining Associated Press, and you mentioned Kentucky. I got to bring this up. They're doing a promotion. They've set the attendance record. I think it's over 18. Place holds 23. Debbie, right? So the promotion is, and I kid you not, they are giving away. If you buy a ticket, they're giving away part of a racehorse. So you go to the game, and they draw your ticket, and you own part of a thoroughbred racehorse. So they're trying to top 18,000 plus at Rupp Arena. So actually, this is good dress rehearsal because you'll have over 9,000 very, very loud in here, but Rupp could be rocking when we go up there on the weekend.
Well, you own a share of a racehorse. Let's get it.
I was thinking, what do you get, a leg?
You're right. You get a leg or an arm or the head. No, I mean, there have been a lot of really good promotions this year in women's basketball trying to grow the game. Jeff Walls in Louisville brought a round of beers or sodas for a couple 2,500 fans. Kansas State gave away free bacon to fans there, students who came to the game.
Everybody loves bacon.
Everyone loves bacon. So now a racehorse. Why not? The horse, I think we checked it up. It won like $5,000 last year. So you get, I think, a 10% share of it. Win $500 just by showing up to a game. That's pretty good.
All right.
I think Morgan kind of looks a little bit like Matt Mitchell, don't you think?
Somebody has already said that. There are a couple of people on the Duke staff that feel like that's the case. Real quick prediction from you for tonight.
For tonight, I got to go with the number 1 team. That UConn is 10-1 when they're the top team in these 1-2 matchups. I think it's going to probably be about a 10 to 15-point game, to be honest. I think the longer Duke hangs in. Last year, as Coach Brown was saying, they were down 2 at the half. There was a great game, and then that one run UConn made kind of put the game away. If Duke can withstand a run by UConn early on, if they can, because UConn will make one, if they can withstand that and keep it close, Cameron could come away with the victory tonight for the Blue Devils.
Exciting.
Doug Feinberg joining us, Associated Press. Thank you so much. Blue Devil Network special presentation 1 versus 2. It is the Jimmy V Classic. We're back right after this.
The people you surround yourself with, it's really important to have great people that support what you're doing. There are a lot of transition times that can be difficult when you're coaching. And so, you go back to assistant coaches and everybody, though, your staff, your administrative assistants, everybody being on the same page. I've had some really incredible experiences with those people. And, of course, as you mentioned, the players, people always wanting to aspire to better. I've really tried to, in all my career, wherever I've been, try to recruit people that wanted to make history wherever they were. Want to do something special. And when you have players that are that motivated, then it comes together nicely, and I get to be the beneficiary.
Welcome back to Cameron Indoor Stadium, Blue Devil Network special presentation 1 versus 2, Jimmy V Classic, and we're joined by, I think we're going to change his name officially from Dr. White to the Architect.
Yeah, hardly.
There have been tremendous successes at Duke since you've taken over as athletic director. I know things are built in stages, but just a few words about what has happened, especially this year. I know it goes back a few years, but we weren't able to see it in football until this year. Record-setting year for Coach Cutcliffe and his staff and that team and this university. Duke men's basketball, all your other sports doing well. Women's basketball, top 5 right now, number 2, getting ready to take on number 1.
You know, Morgan, it's been so much fun to be at Duke. I feel really fortunate to be around an incredible group of highly talented professionals, our coaches, and their respective assistant coaches, and then most importantly, this is an amazing group of student athletes. We've got about 650 young people within our 26 sports here at Duke, and they dream big dreams. They're highly aspirational, they're earnest, they're bright, they're engaging. This is like the best job on the planet, to be honest with you. I'm getting away with murder, but it's been a great run. This is my 6th year at Duke, and every year it seems like we've been able to kind of take it up a notch, and our coaches have done a brilliant job in doing just that, entirely taking us to the next level at a pretty good clip, actually, when you take a good hard look at it. You know, and it's hard to pick on a sport or two, and I'm rambling here, but if you think of the job that David Cutcliffe has done here at Duke, it's kind of unprecedented to take a program from near dead, if you will. You know, it's from Siberia to Paris. I don't know what analogy you want to use, but I often tell people that you know, the program, I use a kind of a beached whale analogy or metaphor, if you will. And David didn't find the whale on the beach. He found it up in the parking lot. And it took him a year or two to get it down to the beach and get it in the sand. And then it took another year or two to get the belly wet. And, of course, now we're out in knee-deep water, and we're looking for that darn Gulf Stream. It's pretty exciting. Our other programs were pretty far along when I arrived, and I just continue to get better. We've got some of the very best coaches in the country. I've already said that. I can't say that enough.
Well, with that said, Joanne has just gotten her 500th win. We were talking a little about that earlier, and just speak a little bit about her success here. And obviously, you guys want to win a national championship. That's the goal. She talks about it all the time. Just a little bit about Joanne and what she's meant to the Duke program.
She's a really gifted leader. She, when I think about a leader, if you will, if you think of the theory behind leadership, and I don't want to get too pontifical here, but she's incredibly empathetic. She knows where all the buttons are. She knows how to press the buttons to get people to kind of be bigger and better than they would ever be on their own. I think that's an incredible innate talent. Secondly, she's incredibly task-oriented, and I think you know that if you've been around her. Morgan, you work with her all the time. The woman is tireless. She is adaptable, situational, and I think that's a really good characteristic of a leader. It's not what worked at Michigan State will work at Duke. What worked at Maine will work at Michigan State. She's really a very savvy, very bright woman. And then lastly, she's passionate and intense. And, those are like 4 really wonderful characteristics. And quite frankly, Joanne's 4 for 4. And that's why she's so darn successful. That's why she's won 500. And quite frankly, we will win a national championship. And as I tell her all the time, once we win that first one, there'll be a second one. And then there'll be one after that as well. Joanne is got a lot of time left on the clock. She's going to be an absolute icon before it's over. She's already in the top handful of coaches in our country. We're just thrilled to have her leading our women's basketball program.
Dr. Kevin White joining us, athletic director at Duke. 22 years in coaching. She's only 48.
Unbelievable.
She's hit 500. Ferocious reader.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever I'm around her, one of the first things she's asking me is, hey, what are you reading?
Yeah.
And then she's reading this book, or, you ought to check this out. Or she'll quote something to me. She gave me a hug the other day, and apparently she had been reading a book about psychology. And if you hug, I kid you not, if you hug and you pat, it means you don't care. It means it's insignificant. If you hug and you hold, it means you care. So immediately I hugged her and I patted, and she's like, "What are you doing?"
You got called out.
Well, we had to re-hug.
That's funny.
We had to re-hug.
That's funny.
1 versus 2, what it means for women's basketball. You're an athletic director. This is huge.
This is what a stage, what a moment. And, just think of the job that Gino's done at Connecticut. It's unbelievable. He's an icon's icon within his respective sport, and what they've accomplished there is beyond words, actually. And for us to be right there knocking at that door for an opportunity for our moment is pretty spectacular. But that doesn't come by without a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and 22 great years along the way to put yourself in position. Joanne's done all the things necessary to put herself and to put our program in position to contend. And tonight will be a great, great, great night for women's college basketball, in my opinion.
All right, fantastic. Dr. White,
thank
always
you for having
a pleasure.
me.
Thanks for the time.
Good to
Thank
see
you. Thanks, Debbie. Great to see you. Thank
Dr.
you.
Kevin White joining us, Athletic Director at Duke. Blue Devil Network special presentation 1 versus 2. It's Duke and UConn, and it's coming up. We're back right after this.
To me, there are 3 things we all should do every day.
Number 1 is laugh.
Number 2 is think.
Number 3 is you should have your emotions move to tears.
Think about it. If you laugh, you think, and you cry, that's a full day.
Cancer can take away all my physical abilities.
It cannot touch my mind.
It cannot touch my heart.
And it cannot touch my soul.
The Jimmy V Foundation for Cancer Research.
Its motto is,
don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Welcome back to Cameron Indoor Stadium. Blue Devil Network special presentation 1 versus 2, UConn and Duke. Doesn't get any better than that for women's college basketball. Doesn't get any better for us. And Bucky Waters joining us on set. Always wonderful to talk to Bucky. Of course, played at NC State. Everett Case, your coach. You coached at West Virginia. You coached here. And Bucky is just so prevalent in so many different things. But the Jimmy V is huge for you, your board of directors. Did you think when Jim Valvano came down with cancer and he gave that ESPYs presentation and he literally took over the night, that it would grow to what it's grown to?
He took over a lot of things. He had a passion about him. He was affable, passionate. You're around him a short period of time and you're in. And when he knew he couldn't beat cancer, he called us together and he said, I'm not going to win. And you know how I hate to lose. He said, you guys are going to beat it. And he says, and we're not going to do it with fancy things. We're going to do it with research because that's how you win. And so he, as inspiring as he was in '83 with his come behind Vic, he had Mike Krzyzewski and Dick Vitale and a whole bunch of us right here. And we went to war, and it's been very successful in 20 years. It's the most efficient. If you want to fight cancer, the V Foundation is the most efficient contribution you can make. We're a 4-star charity. Nobody fighting cancer can yield a better net to the actual disease. And we created a foundation, and the income from the foundation covers the expenses of the foundation. So if you give $1 to the V Foundation, it goes right where you wanted it to go. We're really happy with that.
Can you talk about some of the great events that the V Foundation has been putting on? And one of my favorites, I've just learned that the V Foundation is going to be the charity beneficiary of the Raleigh Rock and Roll inaugural half marathon.
Well, it's bittersweet because we were all involved in the golf tournament, which was in August over there in Raleigh, and it lasted 20 years, and it was a great thing. But I think that just like a lot of events, I had the Duke Children's Classic here for 35 years. Things just, nothing lasts forever.
Sure.
But the V Foundation is vibrant, and I can't praise ESPN enough because we were a nice little foundation with some feisty guys who were willing to work hard, but ESPN just picked us up and lifted us, and we went from a nice little local foundation to global. As per this week, as per tonight, the doubleheader in the Garden, the games here, it draws attention to what Jimmy wanted us to do, beat cancer.
It really is amazing. I watch the speech almost every year, if not more than once a year. And the way not that he played the angle, but the way he was able to capture the audience. And he called ESPN out because he worked there. He worked with all the guys. And he basically said, you know what, if I'm going to have a team, I'm going to have a lot of these guys on the team. and it's just going to make everything stronger. And he knew all about publicity and getting it, and boy, did he get it.
Well, yeah, like I said, affable, aggressive. If you're around him a short period of time, you're a believer. And our coach here, Joanne McCauley, whose real name is Palumbo before she got married, she's got that same affable energy. It's if you spend any time in Italy, you get used to it.
Sure.
But she's got it, and she's at 500 victories now, and of course Gino is the king, but he's been coaching 29 years, so it's an interesting matchup for me tonight too. It's not only 1 versus 2; it's only December, and I remember in '64 we played Michigan in Ann Arbor, and they beat the snot out of us, and then we played them in the Final Four and we reciprocated. So December versus March and April, not really a good comparison, but she's a comer, and I really think she's going to do well.
Well, Bucky, listen, always a pleasure. Listen, you do so much great work for the foundation and really for the community. Duke loves you. Glad to have you on the program.
Praise the Lord. I'm just a messenger.
There you go. Thank you. Bucky Waters joining us again. It's Blue Devil Network special presentation, 1 versus 2, Duke and UConn, Jimmy V Classic. We're back right after this.
I downloaded Jim's speech and put it on my iPad. And the 30 days that I was in isolation, 30 days that I was in the hospital following my bone marrow transplant, there would be many times that I would listen to Jim's speech, his words, his humor. I wish he was still here to say thank you.
Welcome back to Cameron Indoor Stadium. Blue Devil Network special presentation, 1 versus 2, Jimmy V Classic. The 1 is UConn, the 2 is Duke, and Duke is hosting. Steve Wiseman joining us, Durham Herald-Sun. I'm Morgan Patrick, Debbie Taylor, co-hosting a special 1-hour edition of this pregame. And Steve, the build-up, the game is almost here. I know we've been talking about it for a couple of days. Obviously, we've been pinpointing it on the schedule, but now we finally get to see him play.
Yeah, I can't wait to see a 1 versus 2 game, and every year the UConn game, is a measuring stick for this program. Is whoever goes up against UConn around the country, it's a measuring stick, and particularly for Duke because they've had chances every year now to beat them, and they haven't done it. And this is the senior class; it's their last chance to kind of do it. Chelsea and Haley and Tricia in that class, so it's time for them to win this game, and they got them on the home court. So let's see it happen.
So we haven't asked anybody this yet. So you're the last guy. What are the keys to the win tonight?
Well, Duke has had trouble giving up these big scoring runs to UConn the last 2 or 3 years they've played. They've kind of gotten knocked out that way, so they can't let that happen. They got to stay true on defense, and like Chelsea said yesterday, things have kind of snowballed on them, and they have to not let that happen. They have to give up a couple of baskets. Okay, let's just get back and do what we do and score and try to match them that way. And they can't let them have a 12-0 or 14-0. 16-2 run and get out of the game that way.
Steve Wiseman joining us, Durham Herald-Sun, and Steve, you've seen this team play. They're coming off an Oklahoma game where first half they looked like the number 2 team in the country. Second half they kind of held on. They gave up a lot of points. Big discussion point heading into UConn is playing the full 40, and we haven't really seen too many teams that are able to do that. UConn is one of them. So really, when you look at it and it all stacks up, I mean, Duke has to play one of its better, if not best, ball game tonight.
Absolutely, and I am impressed with the way this team has played against ranked teams so far. Twice on the road, yep. Cal and Oklahoma, they've won pretty handily, double-digit wins in both places. And yeah, they didn't play a complete game, and I know that's what they want and it's what they need tonight. But this group is more prepared to do it than any of the previous 3, I think, because of their experience and the depth of talent that Duke has. I think they're ready to face UConn and play them straight up.
So there's a 24-game home court win streak going into this game, which I think is 3rd longest in the country. If you're a senior tonight, and we've been talking about them a lot, what does this game mean to you?
Well, it has to mean so much because they finally want to beat UConn. But as we talked about yesterday in the press conference, it can't be the be-all, end-all. They have to kind of balance it.
Right. Because
this team has to play their best in March and April. If you beat UConn now, it's fantastic. You're going to be number 1 in the country. But if you lose to them in the tournament, it's kind of like it's all for naught. I mean, they want to get to the Final Four and win. So get over the hump, which they haven't been able to do 4 straight Elite Eights. So they kind of have that mental thing where they have to just, they want to win this game, but they can't let it be, okay, we beat UConn, that's it. They have to do more after that.
Steve Wiseman joining us, Durham Herald-Sun. He covers Duke here in the city of medicine. I think that's the
yes.
the way we call Durham now. But this particular squad, the way they have played, you've been able to watch kind of around the country. New rule changes. Like them, don't like them. It's supposed to bring in the flow of the game offensively. We've seen a lot of foul shots.
We have, and that's the bad side of it, because nobody wants to sit and watch a free throw shooting contest. I think we can all agree with that. But teams seem to be adjusting to it, and now we're almost 2 months into the season. So I kind of like the fact that the defensive player has to be set in place by the time the person starts to move, whereas before you kind of slide under, and and when they put the arc in under the basket last year, and we've kind of adjusted to that, and so now it's just one more step to making it more fair, and making it, let the offense do their thing, and not just people jumping in front of people and ruining the flow of the game.
Coach P talked the other day about defensive leadership being really crucial in this game. Where are we going to get defensive leadership from tonight? Who do you think is the key to that?
Haley is such a hard-nosed leader on this team, and we point to her jersey background. I guess the jersey comes out in her quite a bit, and I think on defense and rebounding, that's where she can really show and really kind of take the lead there. And it's going to be important for her. The guards out front, Alexis and Chelsea, can't let UConn get into their offense and start getting in the lane and making for easy baskets that way. So I'm going to point to them too, but I think Haley can be an emotional leader for this team.
All right, well, last thing, we're asking the media guys, what's your gut on this game?
I really want to say Duke because I think it's time. They haven't proven it yet, but I'm going to go with Duke. I think they can do it tonight.
All right, there you go. Kind of a split. We've got the AP and we got the local guy. I like it. Steve Wiseman, Durham Herald-Sun. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we're going to hang right here, and we're going to talk about this this final segment, this matchup. Debbie Taylor joining me again. You've got 14 years of coaching experience. They're getting ready to finish up their shoot-around, go back into the locker room. You're the head coach. What are you going to tell Duke? What are you going to tell UConn?
If I'm Coach P and I have 5 seniors, there's a sense of urgency for them. This is their opportunity. This is their night, and they need to lead this team to victory. They haven't fared well in the past, and they need to step out, be focused, be competitive, be ready to play, and play and defend their home court. So I think they're ready to go. I think they're fired up to play. Gino's just going to tell his kids to go out and do what you do, and that's what they do. They play the same way. They play hard. They play aggressive. This is going to be a rebounding battle. This is going to be a physical battle. It's going to be a fast game, and it's going to be exciting to watch.
Well, when you think about it, UConn's been here. They go anywhere. They play anywhere. Duke is trying to get there. They're scheduling tough since Coach P has been here, Coach McCauley. She wants to go on the road. She wants to play the tough schedule. She wants the tougher teams to come in here. It's kind of hard to get them to come in. And UConn is doing the same thing. They have to travel. A lot of people don't want to go up to stores. Some will, but not a lot. So you get to the point where, you just have to show up and play. And we've talked about that senior class. They're going to be key.
Yeah. And it's a credit to Coach P to continue to play UConn because they are, if you want to win a national championship, UConn is the barometer. So to win it all, you've got to be able to play with them, and she steps up to the challenge every year, so hopefully tonight's game is going to be a great one for Duke.
All right, Debbie Taylor joining us on the Blue Devil Network. Always a pleasure to work with her, and we're looking forward to 1 versus 2. It's Duke hosting UConn, part of the Jimmy V Classic. Thanks to all of our guests, and we had so many of them. Steve Barnes, Bob Joyce, Doris Burke, certainly Al Brown, Doug Feinberg with the AP, Kevin White, our athletic director here at Duke, and certainly Bucky Waters and Steve Wiseman you just heard from. But the game is an hour away, so tip-off here from Cameron Indoor is coming up. You can obviously listen on GoDuke.com and the Blue Devil Network, and it is on ESPN2. Well, for Debbie Taylor, I'm Morgan Patrick, and this is the Blue Devil Network.